So the first writer which I'm going to talk today is Somerset Maugham. Somerset Maugham is said to be born in 1874 and he died in 1965. He is a very famous playwright, novelist, and a short story writer. He was born up in France and his parents died quite young. So he became it had an impact on his personality, which we'll see in his work such as Of Human Bondage, in which he is talking about the troubled childhood and the troubled relationship. So he was a boy who was very poor in English because he has a problem in speaking. He has a problem of stammering. So he stammered in his childhood, and that made him to be very self-conscious, and that's why he had a very much trouble in his childhood, and that's why I told you that which will be reflected in his works. He studies literature, philosophy, German, and then goes on to write about the biographies of various personalities. And one famous is of a opera composer, which was his first book while he was in Germany. And as I told you, he was very self conscious and dubious. So he went on to explore the bisexuality in his life, and he it had a very much trouble in his life, and you will see in his works these concept of bisexuality and how people are constantly exploring the life and the other sides of life. So these works are being portrayed in his works, and Liza of Lambeth is one such work which is said to be the first work of Somerset Maugham, and with that he began the full writing career. During the First World War, he served in France army as an ambulance driver, and you must remember who are the other ambulance drivers who were serving during the World War and later on became writers, such as John Dos Passos and E. Cummings. Along with that, I guess Ernest Hemingway was also war veteran. He was driving ambulance during that time. So remember these writers' name who were uh, driving ambulances during the World War. And he worked in Switzerland and Russia as a secret intelligence, and in 1916 he was involved in this work business where he had to work as a spy. And he in his writing you will see there is a lot of depiction of colonial days of India, Southeast Asia, of China, and the Pacific part. He became a travel writer of the interwar years, which is comparative to the Evelyn Waugh, as we will talk about Evelyn Waugh as well today. So he is said to be a writer who is often compared to his contemporaries, and because he was writing of that tone, of that temperament which was there in the works of various other famous writers. So he was very much fascinated by the Orient or by the South Sea Islands. So he you will see constantly these things are being mentioned in his works. So now I'm going to talk about the famous works by Somerset Maugham. First one is, as I told you, the first novel by him is The Liza of Lambeth, which is based on the working class Londoners. Okay. And the second work which I'm going to talk about is Of Human Bondage, which was published in 1915, and it is said to be autobiographical in nature, as I told you about his troubled childhood and concept of sexuality. So there is a man named Philip Carey who is a club-footed man, and he falls for a woman named as Mildred, who runs away from him, Philip Carey, and she is later on, after running away from Philip Carey along with their son, she becomes a prostitute and dies. She becomes a prostitute and dies with syphilis. And when she dies with syphilis, Philip is said to be given the care of the son which she bared. Now Philip is the in charge, and Philip is now thinking about restarting his life. So that's the story of human bondage. So it is about basically what are the things that are binding us with each other. So what are the aspects which are binding with each other, and he is talking about those things which we need to overcome in life. Like this person Philip Carey, he has a club foot and he is very much in problem due to his insufficiency and the problems which he has. So he's trying to constantly come out of it, and he wants to overcome all these things. So this work had an original title which might be asked in the exam: Beauty from Ashes. Beauty from Ashes. Okay. And there is one important information of human bondage. Title has been taken from Spinoza's Ethics. Spinoza's Ethics. I have mentioned it here. The current title taken from Spinoza's Ethics. Okay. And the novel was initially criticized in both England and United States for the kind of themes it was being written on. Then the next work is The Moon and the Sixth Pen. So this work title was asked in the exam, UGC NET exam, that who has written this work. Okay. So this work has been told in an episodic form, where is the concept of first person narrator is there, and it is talking about a series of glimpses into the mind and the soul of a central character whose name is Charles Strickland, who is a middle-aged English stockbroker, and he is abandoning his wife and children abruptly to pursue his desire to become an artist. Okay, so the story is based upon the life of a French painter named as Paul Gauguin, and the artist who he rejected France and the civilization to live in a motor area named as Tahiti. So it has been inspired by the life of Paul Gauguin. So always remember this, that this work has been based on the life of Paul Gauguin. Then the next work, somebody's mic is on, please turn it off. Next work is Cakes and Ale, or The Skeleton in the Cupboard. Okay, The Skeleton in the Cupboard is the subtitle. Remember the subtitle. It is a Roman clef. Do you know what is a Roman clef? Basically, Roman clef is a kind of novel written in a form in which there is a person uh, who a real person's character is taken in the novel, which is given a fictional aspect to it. It means there will be a real person. Like if you are writing a book on Pradhan Mantri Narendra Modi, then you will take Narendra Modi's name. You will not take his name directly, but you will know that it is based upon the character of Narendra Modi, but you will give him some fictional name in the book. Okay, so that's Roman clef, which is also called as a novel with a key. So remember these things which I keep on saying, because these are important things. So Roman clef is also called as a novel with a key. So the title of this work has been taken from Sir Toby Belch's characters dialogue from Twelfth Night. If you have read, so Toby Belch is giving a speech to Malvolio, and in that he is mentioning this work with this quotation. There is a quotation, and from there the title has been taken. So this is a story of William Ashton, and he is about to tell his life story to Edward Drifield for his biography to a man named as Elroy Keir. So when he is telling this story, he comes to reveal that William Ashton has an affair with the wife of Drifield, with the second wife of Drifield. Okay, So William Ashton is revealing that he has an affair with an Victorian writer named as Edward Drifford. Okay, and he is his story is about to be written. And this novel has veiled characterizations of Thomas Hardy and Hugh Walpole. So Edward Difffield character is based on Thomas Hardy. So remember this, it might be asked. And this work has a theme that how society shows snobbery and dominance. Okay, so the society is showing snobbery, in which they are only concerned about themselves and they are very snobbish. So it is about the uh, also about the frankness and the sexual freedom which is there, not very much prevalent in the conservative society. Okay. um I guess I have told you one more work by him. Just write down Rager's Edge. Razor apostrophe S. Rager's Edge. EDGE. Rager's Edge. And it is a story which is based in India. Okay, so it is an India based story. And it is a story of a man named Larry Darrell. Larry, Larry, Larry Darrell, Darrell. So, story of Larry Darrell in World War One, who sets off to search for meaning in his life. So, the title of this work, Rager's Edge, has been taken from Katha Upanishad. Okay, so this writer is said to be talking about Vedic text and Upanishads as well. So remember this point that Somerset Maugham has also talked about Vedic text and Upanishads. And this man, Larry Darrell, is an American pilot, and he has been influenced by the Indian mysticism. So Larry Darrell is inspired by Indian mysticism as well. Now the next writer I'm going to talk about is J.B. Priestley. J.B. Priestley,
Excuse me.
yeah.
Can you please just repeat that statement? So you said that this word cakes and ale. So you said something like that word key. I'm sorry, I couldn't figure out what is that word. A Roman a clef is also called as
A novel with a key. A
a
novel
novel
with
with
a
a key.
Key key.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much.
Okay. So next work which I'm going to talk about is J.B. Priestley, the next writer. He was born in 1894 and he died in 1984. So it's quite easy to remember but quite confusing at the same time. So he is a very famous novelist, playwright, critic, and broadcaster, and also regarded as the Dickens of 20th century. Why? Why? Because he's talking about the middle class families and the problems of middle class family. He also served during the First World War, and you will see like not very much of his impact of World War in his works. So he kept his works and his personal life separate. And he has written more than 60 books, out of which there are 40 plays. And he wrote also a work of literary criticism, a whole volume of literary criticism, so to say, which is on George Meredith and Thomas Love Peacock. So remember this, that Priestley has written a literary criticism including volumes on George Meredith and Thomas Love Peacock. Priestley is also said to be like he was criticized by Thomas Graham Greene. So he was criticized by Graham Greene in his work. So he went on to quote against that. So Graham Greene has written one work named as Istanbul Train, and he presented Priestley as a Cockney novelist or Queen Savary. So against that, he filed a defamatory pursuit on Graham Greene. So we will talk about Graham Greene as well later on. So he has written 40 plays and 26 novels. and his novels are important because names are asked in the exam. Not like, see, today which writers I'm going to talk about, only their important works are asked in the exams, like the names or the setting. So not much in-depth questions are asked from these writers, so you don't need to read them in great detail. You can do that for Graham Greene, but not for everyone else. Just remember their famous works and the important and the minor works. Okay. So he has written the first most popular novel is The Good Companions, which was published in 1929. And The Good Companion is written with Edward Knobloch. He's another writer, Edward Knobloch, who has helped him in writing this work. And it is a story of three people at crisis in their lives who meet at a concert party. It is talking about the trials and tribulations at a concert party which these three people face. Okay. Next is Angel Pavement, which was published in 1930, and it was set during the Great Depression in London. And it is also talking about the social panorama of city of London. Okay, it is talking about social panorama of city of London. So it is talking of the intricate business swindle, which is having socialist themes. And he is also talking about the concept of time in his works. So three plays which has socialist themes are there are plays which have socialist themes, such as Angel Pavement, The Good Companions. But there are other aspects of J.B. Priestley's writing in which he is writing the plays which are based on the concept of time. Okay, so it is the concept of time or the time theory has been inspired by J.W. Dunes. It has been inspired by J.W. Dunes' time theory, and he also wrote one work named as Experiment with Time. So Dunn gave a theory that past, present, future are simultaneous, and being inspired by that, J.B. Priestley started writing on the time theory, these time plays. So remember the name of the time plays, that is An Experiment with Time, Time and Convoys. They will come in the next slide. So see, here it is, the time and man and time, the time and convoy. So these are the time plays which he wrote during 1930s to 1940s. So remember this, that he wrote time plays which were inspired by the time theory of J.W. Dunes. Okay, see, here it is, J.W. Dunes. And here I have given you the names of the important works of J.B. Priestley which you need to know. The Dangerous Corner. So Dangerous Corner is a story of a couple who goes to a party where several secrets of them are revealed. Okay, so several secrets are being revealed in a party. Then the next work is The Time and Convoys. The Time and Convoys. So here it is, The Time and Convoys, 1937. And it is Priestley's one of the famous time plays in which he is talking about how the time changes. Okay. So he is talking about the illusion of time and how the time is changing, and also about the Kal Chakra. So he is giving us the concept of Kal Chakra, in which he is talking about that everything which begins has an end, and everything which ends will have an beginning. So will have a beginning. So for the concept of Kal Chakra has been talked about in the work Time and Conveys, and it has been made into a movie also. It has been made into a movie by Sendition. S E N E D I Tion, Senediction. It has been turned into a movie by Senediction. Then Inspector Calls is also one of the famous work, which is based on drawing room theater in postmodernist era. We are going to talk about this drawing room comedy, drawing room theater, in which the family problems are shown. Okay, so the basic realities of the lives of middle class families, and the hidden truths, and like there is nothing to be like said to be fake. Everything real is being shown. Like when you see, look back in anger, how they are ironing clothes and then constantly mumbling something and telling something and having conflicts within their mind. So every the gross reality is being depicted in these drawing room comedies or drawing room theaters. So Inspector Calls is also one of that work, which is said to be having a drawing room theater concept. And then A Severed Head. Remember, A Severed Head is also a work by Irish Murdoch, and they do ask questions by the title of writers who have similar works and similar names. ठीक है, तो remember that A Severed Head is a work by the same title by Irish Murdoch, which is set during the Second World War. And then there is one more work named as I for One. I for One. So remember the name I for One. And after the Second World War, he became involved in a nuclear disarmament. Okay, he became involved in a campaign for nuclear disarmament. So remember this, that after the Second World War, he became involved in a campaign for nuclear disarmament. He has written a few autobiographies which are very important. The autobiographies by him are Martin Released and Instead of Trees. Martin Released and Instead of Trees. Okay. Now, the next writer is Evelyn Waugh. Evelyn Waugh was born in 1903 and died in 1966. And this writer is quite famous because of the work named as Bright's Head Revisited. So, Evelyn Waugh is said to be famous because of the dystopian novel Brideshead Revisited, which is also called as his Catholic novels, a part of his Catholic novels. So he traveled widely, and you will see the reference of his travel in his works, as he also served in the British Army during the Second World War, and later on being inflected by the idea of like Anglicanism is not very perfect, not very pure. He thought of converting himself to Catholicism, and he fictionalized all his experiences in the form of novel. And you will see his works are also talking about his experiences as well. And he saw people as being very snobbish, and that's why he thought of attacking on the sin of vulgarity. He just commented on the vulgarity which is being depicted in the novels and movies these days. And his heroes are basically very naive young men who are they are very naive, and they are young men who are suffering from embarrassment and hardship because they have failed to understand the exponents of vice, because they are not able to understand the reality of the society, or they are unable to change themselves or to mold themselves according to the needs of the society. So they are suffering from the embarrassment and hardship. So, remember the names of his works which are important. So Decline and Fall. Decline and Fall is a satire, and it was earlier titled as The Temple at Thatch. It was earlier titled as The Temple at Thatch, Thatch. Okay. And the title of this work has been taken from Edward Gibbon's History of Decline and Fall of Roman Empire. So the name, the title Decline and Fall has been taken from Edward Gibbon's The History of Decline and Fall of Roman Empire. Okay. And the novel was dedicated to Harold Acton. The novel was dedicated to Harold, Harold, Harold Acton, Acton, Acton. And the protagonist's name is Paul Pennyfeather. Paul Pennyfeather. Okay. Then the next work which he wrote is Scoop, which is a satire on Fleet Street. Not very much important. Next important work by him is A Handful of Dust. A Handful of Dust. And the title of this work has been taken from The Wasteland. Okay. And it is said to be written as a parody of Wasteland. And it is said to be a satire on the heartless and frivolous world of wealthy and the fashionable. So Handful of Dust is also said to be his autobiography. It is also said to be his autobiography. And a few important facts regarding this is, see, the quotation which has been taken from Wasteland, the Handful of Dust, has been also used in Maud by Tennyson. Okay, so this quotation, Handful of Dust, has also been used in Maud by Tennyson. And in a work named as Youth, which is a story by Joseph Conrad. So this quotation has been also used there. And Handful of Dust is a story of a man named as Tony Last. Tony Last. Okay, Tony Last, Last, who lives in Hatton Abbey, and he is married to Brenda Last, and Brenda Last has an affair with John Beaver, and Tony Last is a man who has a son named as John Andrew, and Tony Last goes for Amazon River's discovery with one man named as Mr. Messenger. And when he goes, so his wife takes it as a chance and goes on to the flat of John Beaver in London. And later on, what happens that there is a twist in the work, and where this man Tony Last is being kidnapped by a man named as Mr. Todd, and Mr. Todd is asking Tony Last to read one novel again and again. So he is reading the novel of Charles Dickens, and he is being asked to read it again and again and again, and due to that he grows to dislike Dickens. Okay, so this story is also known as a story of a man who disliked Dickens. So he starts to hate Dickens because he is like, when you see Dickens, so he is portraying middle class as really very simpler and not at all clever. They are very meek, very submissive, but that's not the reality. Like it's not that in middle class everybody is suffering and they are very innocent, they don't have anything to do with mischiefs. Okay, that's not the reality. So there are both kinds of men in the middle class or in the lower class as well. So the thieves are like, all the thieves are not like Oliver Twist, who have been made into to do slavery or to do burglary because of the pressure. Some of them are doing it by their own will, and it's not that the situation is making them do that. It's just because they are born like that and they have a thought like that. That's why they are doing it. So when Tony Last is reading Dickens's work again and again, he starts to dislike Dickens. Okay, and the son of Tony Last is dying by he was riding a horse, and by falling down from that horse he dies. And when he dies, the name of that mule has been asked in the exam. Like, what an important trivial information it is that they are asking it in the exam. The name of the mule from which Andrew fell off is being asked. So the name of the mule is Peppermint. Remember this as well. So from this you can see that this work is important and you need to read this work in detail. Okay. So I hope it is clear. Like, if they are asking you very deep questions from some work, it means that that work is important and that needs to be read in detail. Next work is The Bride's Head Revisited, which is first of his Catholic novels, and it is also a dystopian novel. And it is it is it is also subtitled as the sacred and profane the sacred and profane memories of the sacred and profane memories of Captain Charles Ryder. Okay. So, Brideshead Revisiting is dealing with nostalgia, World War, Catholicism, and homosexuality. So, all of these things are being talked about in these works. Then he also wrote one trilogy. Trilogy is named as Sword of Honor. Sword of Honor, in which there are three works named as Men at Arms, Men at Arms. Second one is Officers and Gentlemen, Officers and Gentlemen. And the third one is Unconditional Surrender, Unconditional Surrender. And he has also written one very famous dystopian novel named as The Love Among Ruins. Love Among Ruins, 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 Love Among Ruins is one of his famous dystopian novel. Okay, okay, then we are moving to the next writer, which is Graham Greene. Before that, I'll give you a minute's break if you want, because I want to give my throat a sorry, sorry, sorry. Till then, if you want to ask something, you can. Why there is very less attendance today? Are you guys in panic or scared of the exam?
No, ma'am. Actually, we are finding the best solution to crack this exam. That's why we are silent.
The best
The
solution is solving
easiest.
the question. Like, if you'll ask me, then the best, there is nothing other than that. Solving the question is the most important one. Okay. And like, focus on previous year concepts as well, so you will get to know questions from there as well. And whatever you have read till now, be confident about it. Just be confident. See, it is like an ocean, so we all think that जितना पढ़ेंगे उससे ज़्यादा आना चाहिए, but it is not like that. It is also an exam which checks your memory. So just remember that you have to recall whatever you have read. It's not that reading everything is important, but whatever you have read, you need to remember that. Okay. Okay, let's move to the next writer. So Graham Greene was born in 1904 and died in 1991. A very famous novelist, short story writer, playwright, travel writer, essayist, and critic. So he is. There was a question on him that who is the Catholic novelist who is also an intelligence officer and a film critic who sets his fiction in a faraway places wrecked by political conflicts. So the answer is Graham Greene. So he is also a film critic and an intelligence officer and a Catholic writer. Remember this because you will see the impact of Catholicism in his works. So, he is a man who suffered from bipolar disorder. You do you know what is bipolar disorder? I hope you know. And he worked in the Nottingham Journal, the Times, the Spectator. So he has worked in all those journals. Okay, and he wrote one work named as The Babbling April. The Babbling, Babbling, Babbling April, which is his first collection of poem. And let's talk about his works. So he is a writer who is journeying through the various parts of the country such as Liberia, and he wrote one book also on that journey named as Journey Without Maps. And on his return, when he returns from Liberia, then he goes on to become a film critic, later on a literary editor of Nottingham Journal, the Times, and the Spectator. And then he in 1938 he went on to visit Mexico to report on a religious persecution, and this was highly influential when it comes to writing fiction. So he took a lot of instances from that event, and he wrote another book, another travel book named as The Lawless Road. So, see, there are Catholic novels which are important when it comes to Graham Greene, and the travel books. So, I give you the names of the two travel books named as Journey Without Maps and The Lawless Land. And he also wrote one Lawless Road, sorry, not map, Lawless Roads, and one other book by him is In Search of a Character. Oh, do you remember who has written six characters in a search of an author?
Randello.
What? Yeah, I guess you are right. Luigi Pirandello. Okay. So, as I told you, he was an Anglican and went on to become an atheist when he was in Oxford University, and then he converted himself to Roman Catholicism. Seeing the issues of the modern world, he started experimenting in his novel, and he wrote according to the all those atheistic notions and all those influences which he took from the journeys which he did. He just started incorporating all those things in his works. Okay, so two major themes in his works are Catholicism and philosophy. So the first work by him is The Man Within, which is his first novel, and his it is also called as a historical thriller. And the work whose title is taken from Religio Leci. Do you remember who has written Religio Leci? You need quick revision. After once we complete this session, we will go with the revision of all these works. Okay, so Dryden has written Religio Leci. So it is the first novel of Green, and this was the question asked in the exam, that which is the first work of Green. So the man within, and the title is taken from Religio Leci. Then the second work which he wrote is Istanbul Train, which I talked about in Priestley's. So he has caricatured J.B. Priestley's character in this work, and he is talking about an Orient Express train. He is also discussing his 3 days journey which he did from Belgium to Istanbul. Okay, so it is about his 3 days journey from Belgium to Istanbul, and he caricatured J.B. Priestley, for which he went to court. So remember this. Then I'll talk about his works more. So there, I told you that he wrote novel characterized by the feature called as Catholic novels. So his most important four Catholic novels are the Brighton Rock, the Brighton Rock. Okay, the first Catholic novel it is. Then the Power and Glory, the Power and Glory. Then Heart of the Matter, then Heart of the Matter, and then the End of the Affair, the End of the Affair. So remember this, in one of the set exams they have asked to chronologically arrange these Catholic novels. Okay, so it's just not that you have to remember the names, but also you have to remember it in in the order which it has written. Okay, so now we will talk about these works a bit. So the first one is Brighton Rock. So Brighton Rock is the first Catholic novel, and this is a murder thriller. Okay, this is a murder thriller which has a theme of suicide. So remember this, that the works of Graham Greene generally had the themes of suicide. So remember this. And in this there is a character named as Hale. So Hale is the major character who has been murdered, and he has been murdered by using a device named as sugar candy. So he has been murdered by the use of sugar candy. So Hale is he is a journalist. He is working in a Daily Messenger, and he gets murdered. And then he gets murdered, and the device used in his murder is said to be sugar candy. So this sugar candy is said to have some human characteristics and aspects, and it is used for killing people. Then the next work is Power and Glory. Power and Glory is an important one because it has a character named as Whiskey Priest. Okay. And the title has been taken from Lord's Prayer. Lord's Prayer. And the setting of this work is in Mexico. So the setting is in Mexico. And initially it was published as Labyrinthine Ways. Labyrinthine Ways. Okay, Labyrinthine Ways. Initially, it was published as Labyrinthine Ways. So, there is a man named Whiskey Priest who is a clergyman, and he runs away from his city because the religion is getting banned in his city. And he meets a man named as Mestizo, and Mestizo is trying to trap the priest because he is given an order for executing him for promoting religion. Okay, so he is this man is trying to cross the border. Whiskey Priest is trying to cross the border, and he goes to a place named as Las Casas. Lascasas. So he goes on to a place named as Las Castle, and at the end, when he has been sent, a man named as Mestizo who has been sent to kill this man, Whiskey Priest. So Mestizo, after meeting Whiskey Priest, gets influenced by him, and at the end of the story, he is imagining himself and dreaming himself that he is taking knowledge from Whiskey Priest. Okay, so that's the story. And Next is the end of the affair. The end of the affair. So, End of the Affair is an important work because it is based on the life of Graham Greene as well. So, Maurice Bendrix is a person, Maurice, Maurice, Maurice Bendrix, Bendrix. Maurice Bendrix is a writer. Okay, so he is a writer who has been a Roman clef of Graham Greene, and he loves a woman named as Sarah Miles. And Sarah Miles, firstly, she is also in love with Maurice Bendrix, but later on, she goes on to marry a man named as Henry Miles. Okay, so she marries a man named Henry Miles, and this man Henry Miles has a doubt in his mind that his wife has an affair with a man named as Richard Smythe. So the lady loves Maurice Bendrix, but the husband thinks that she has an affair with a man named as Richard Smythe. So what happened? Why Maurice and Sarah got separated? Have you seen the movie Jab Tak Hai Jaan? There is a story in which Shah Rukh Khan is in bad state. I don't know. I haven't watched the movie. So Shah Rukh Khan is in coma or somewhere. So he is fighting the battle of life and death. So his lady love Katrina Kaif swears to God that if she gets him, if he comes back and he is alive and doing well, so she will stop loving Shah Rukh Khan. So she will break up with Shah Rukh Khan as in sacrifice in return of his life. So it's the similar story is here. Sarah Miles also took an oath in which she said that if Maurice Bendrix was also sick, or he had some uh, he was in an attack and that's why he got severely injured. So Sarah took this oath and she swore to God that she will leave Maurice Bendrix if he gets all right. So the lady's husband, as I told you, he thinks that the lady has an affair with another man named as Richard. So he is implying one spy to see and confiscate the lady, to keep an eye on her. But what happened that Sarah is dying due to cold and fits, and Morris is becoming a writer, very famous writer, and he is in pain. He doesn't know what to do without Sarah. And when Sarah is getting ready to be burned or to be for the burial site, she is going to the funeral. So there a conflict arises that Sarah had her orientation towards Catholicism. So there is I don't know much about it, but the process of burial is different for Catholic and Anglicans. So there a conflict arises that Sarah is a Catholic, and the husband comes to know about the relationship also, about the relationship of Sarah and Morris. Okay, so the next work is the end of affair. The end of affair. Uh, I forgot the story of end of affair. Okay, it is dedicated to a character named as C for cat. Okay, it is dedicated to C. I just told you the story of. I am myself confused. I just told you the end of affair summary. You can tell me, guys. You're just so quiet. Since
Yes,
yesterday
ma'am.
when I have come to know about your exam, I am in panic as if my exams are around the corner, because it's just like the same feeling. I can feel you. When the exams got declared, whenever it got declared, I was just in a trance. I did not know what to do, what to study, what, like, I can feel you. I could totally feel you. So I hope I am of a bit help to you. Okay, The Quiet American is the next work, which is about the involvement of America in the Vietnam War. Okay, in the Vietnam War, or the movement, and it is talking about the end of colonization of Vietnam by the British. So it is also based upon his experiences in Vietnam. So they may ask you that which country is being talked about in the Quiet American. Then the next work is the Our Man in Havana. Our Man in Havana. So it is about a secret agent named as Wormold, who files a bogus, or you can say a false report based on the tales of Shakespeare. Okay, so he files a false report based on the tales from Shakespeare, and it is also based upon the MI6, right? It is MI6, which is a secret service, MI6. So it is also inspired by the MI6. Then the next important work is The Heart of the Matter. Heart of the Matter is the experience which the writer had in Sierra Leone. Sierra Leone. Sierra, Sierra Leone. 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 Which is on the west coast of Africa. Which is on the west coast of Africa. And in this work, there is a man named as Henry Scooby, and Henry Scooby is facing a moral crisis. So Henry Scooby is a man who is married to a woman named as Louisa Scooby, and Louisa Scooby wants to go to South Africa because she wants to meet with Wilson, and she loves poetry, so she wants to live with Wilson. She doesn't take interest in living with Henry Scooby. And Henry Scooby, on the other hand, is falling for a woman named as Helen. Okay, and he is taking a lot of loans to do his job and to do his work, and he starts doing a lot of criminal and illegal activities, and later on feels very much guilty about it. And since he feels guilty about it, he goes to church and becomes he goes to church to confess. And he was doing a lot of illegal works, but he was doing some work in which he gets promotion and becomes a commissioner. Okay, when he becomes a commissioner, he goes on to become very he goes to a higher position, but he constantly gets threatened of the illegal activities which he did in his past life, and that's why he becomes mentally sick. Okay, and due to that sickness, he takes an overdose of sleeping pills and dies by suicide. So see, in most of the works, like in the End of the Affair, then the Power and Glory, Bright and Rock, all these are talking about the death. Okay, all these are having themes of suicide and the death. So remember this, that it is important that he has a concept of suicide in his famous works. And there was a question in the exam. The protagonist returns the packets of diamond given to him is a theme of which work? So the protagonist is returning the packet of diamond given to him is a theme of Heart of the Matter. So in which he is hiding the diamond. So the man who has been given the charge of the diamond is hiding the diamond. Okay, so that's the theme of this work, and also the theme of suicide is there in this work. The next work is Comedians. Comedians is set in Haiti. So see, all these works which I have written, their setting is important, because in exam they have asked about the setting. Okay, so the comedians is set in Haiti, and it is talking about the life of three comedians who are exploring the suppression and terrorism, Then the next work is the honorary council. It is based on it is set in Argentina, the Paraguay border. And the last work is Human factor is again the secret service MI6. MI6 is the central, like it's of central importance here. So it is based on the workings of MI6, which is a secret service, and it has a reference of War and Peace and the Way We Live Now by Anthony Trollope. So War and Peace has been written by Tolstoy, and The Way We Live Now is being written by Anthony Trollope. So it has the reference of these two works. Then he also wrote one work named as No Man's Land. No Man's Land, which was posthumously published. So the No Man's Land was posthumously published. And I told you about his travelogues, and remember his autobiographies. So I have given you the name of two autobiographies: A Short of Life, The Ways of Escape, and there are two more. No, no, not two more. I guess one more. A World of My Own, A World of My Own, and Getting to Know the General. Getting to Know the General. So these are the four autobiographies. So he wrote. He wrote in A Sort of Life, in which is his autobiography. He wrote one very famous quotation: "Success is temporary, only a delayed failure." In A Sort of Life, he wrote, "Success is temporary, only a delayed failure." There was one question asked in the NET exam: identify two Indian English writer who received appreciation from their British counterpart. So R.K. Narayan is said to be the one who received appreciation from Graham Greene. Okay. So R.K. Narayan is said to have got appreciation from Graham Greene. Okay, so I will stop over here.